Now, all will see. This is the hour of the Forsaken.
Though Lady Sylvanas and her Forsaken finally took vengeance upon their hated enemy, the Lich King, their dark crusade in Northrend proved costly. Betrayed by Grand Apothecary Putrus at the Battle of Wrathgate, the Forsaken's devious plague of death was unleashed upon both the Alliance and the Horde to calamitous effect. Unbeknownst to Sylvanas, Putrus and his demonic ally, Veramathras, had taken control of the Undercity. As a result, the Forsaken were wrongly blamed for the traitor's atrocities. Though the Undercity was eventually retaken, Sylvanas and her followers still bear the weight of Putrus' sins. Mistrusted by the other members of the Horde, the Forsaken must now prove their loyalty to the cause and redeem themselves from their supposed treachery. To this end, Sylvanas has bolstered her defenses within the Tirisfal Glades and readied her undead forces for any contingency. As one of the Forsaken, you must use your cunning and viciousness to slay any who would pose a threat to Sylvanas' rule, be they human, undead, or otherwise.
Wait, what? Did they change this? Oh my gosh, they did. I didn't know they had made this change. I'll explain in just a moment. Gosh, really? I liked that change. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. I was not prepared for this, apparent change that they made to this starter zone. Because I was about to talk about it and how much I like it. And now it's like, oh, okay, apparently it's, apparently it's not even here anymore. So what I was gonna mention is that back in Cataclysm onward, apparently at some point they changed this. Because I'm wanting to make a direct comparison about something they changed here for this starter zone from the way it was in WoW Classic and WoW Vanilla to how it is now, and it was something that I actually really liked. So, in WoW Classic, you start off actually inside that crypt, like down below. You're just already up, and you're just standing there in the crypt ready to go. And it's partly having to do with what's, when you know about the Forsaken from back during that era, it kind of makes sense. But then they made a change for Cataclysm, and thematically I actually liked it more. Because in Cataclysm, your corpse was laying right here, and you were still dead. Like, you were waiting for someone to be risen. In fact, is the dialogue here? Yeah, see, they didn't change the dialogue for this. And yet we're already up. So this doesn't even make sense. If they change this because people in WoW Classic complained about it and said they preferred the one in Vanilla more, and so they changed it to appease Classic players, I'm gonna be upset if that's the reason. I liked it better when it was that we were still here, we had not been risen yet, because this felt like a genuine start to our character's journey and adventure. It just, it felt, like it looked and felt awesome from a thematic point of view for this, our characters, as opposed to, oh, I'm already just up and about in a crypt. Okay. But the idea here was that you had this Valkyr waiting here, about to, rise you from the dead along with all these other ones. And I'll talk more about that in just a moment. I can't believe they made this change. I'm very upset about this change. It was so much, I thought it was so much better. I much rather preferred it when I was right here. And she's right, because look at the text here for this quest. Serana. Rise, Serana. Yes, I named her after the character from Skyrim. Hush. Welcome back to the realm of the living. With the blessing and power of the Dark Lady, I have freed you from death's grip. You are no slave, Serana. You are free to follow whatever path you choose from here. If you choose to serve the Dark Lady Sylvanas, I recommend you speak with Undertaker Mordo. You will find him behind me in the graveyard. Now, that makes more sense if we're still here as a lifeless corpse, having not been risen from the dead yet, and she's actually raising us. But we're already standing here, already risen. It doesn't make any sense. Sorry. I was not expecting that I had no idea they had actually made this change. This really upsets me. Alright, fine. Anyways. Whatever. Alright. So, there's some other, things I mentioned. I mentioned how it made more sense in vanilla because pretty much all of the Forsaken that you played in vanilla were the ones who were freed from the Lich King's control back in Warcraft 3. Pretty much all of them were the people from Lordaeron that were killed and brought back as undead during the Plague in Warcraft 3. And the tone for this whole starting zone was very different. And, including how it is now. Because a lot of it had to do with there's one singular goal and focus for Sylvanas and for the Forsaken. The Scourge. Defeat the Scourge, defeat the Lich King. That is the one single solitary focus and goal for Sylvanas and the rest of the Forsaken. However, here in Cataclysm, things are different. Because, well, we've now defeated the Lich King. So, something happened in between Wrath and Cata that has to do with what's going on here. Sylvanas had achieved her goal of defeating the, Arthas. In her mind, it was Arthas. She just wanted to kill Arthas. And she did. Well, she didn't. We did. But in her mind, she had accomplished her goal. Arthas was dead, and that was it. So, she committed suicide. She leapt off the top of Icecrown and killed herself. Now, she thought she was going to, back then we just called it the Light, whereas now, with Shadowlands coming out, we now know it's called, not the Light, but that it's called, Bastion, apparently. Apparently, Sylvanas had gone to Bastion, and it was wonderful. It was basically like the equivalent of heaven. It was absolutely fantastic. And then she was pulled out of that by Death Knight Arthas and turned into a banshee. And she never forgave him for that. And she wanted to go back there. She didn't want to continue her existence as a banshee, as an undead. That's why you always hear her say, what joy is there in this curse and all these other things. So she thought she would just go back there because, well, she's Sylvanas and she's wonderful. She's amazing. While Arthas was terrible and he deserved to go to the darkness. Though we now know it's called the Torghast, the tower, I guess. So she thought she was going back to Bastion. Funny thing, though, during that time she was trying to get Arthas, she did a number of very unpleasant things. She wasn't like, that type of like sin, evil. But she did a lot of unpleasant things and pretty much was willing to let a number of people die in order to accomplish her goal. And do a number of terrible things to others in order to accomplish her goal. Like what she did to the Blood Elves in order to force them into Northrend, by the way. So she didn't go back to Bastion. She went to the Dark, the place Arthas went. The Tower, which I guess now that we kind of are learning more things about Shadowlands, I suppose that may be when she actually first made her connection with the Jailer, supposedly. And then the Valkyr, some Valkyr left over who were servicing the Lich King, but now no longer were, had vowed to serve Sylvanas instead. I guess partly because they didn't want to serve someone else, possibly didn't want to go serve Odin, can't blame them. And so 9 Valkyr made a pact with Sylvanas that if she died, they would take her place in the Shadowlands. So one of them did, and Sylvanas came back. And from that point on, she realized that if she died, she would go back to the darkness in the Shadowlands. And so from that point on, she is terrified of going back because of how horrible a place it is. And it basically leads into the story arc that she has throughout Cataclysm and onwards. And what's going on here is, as opposed to a number of the Forsaken, like, yes, being with Sylvanas to help get revenge on the Lich King and such, a lot of those people that were Forsaken were the people that had been basically killed and raised by Death Knight Arthas, so they were kind of motivated to do so. That's not the case here. A lot of the Forsaken here, a number of them are, well, just regular people from various different places. Now, it's worth noting, we didn't necessarily die here, because, and again, I see right there, you see that? That player right there, that's the animation I was referring to. This is how it would start back in the day. Your corpse was laying right there, you were still dead, and you would talk to this Valkyr to get the quest, and then you would be risen back as a Forsaken. And I liked that. See right there? Okay, so I don't know. Maybe mine got bugged or something, but see, the other players here, they're just kind of chilling right there. I don't know what happened. Maybe they changed it, maybe they didn't. Because it didn't work for me, but apparently it's working for these players right here. I don't know what to think. By the way, in case you're going, man, there's a number of players here. It's not surprising. Undead is a very popular race, so here both in retail and in WoW Classic, there's usually a lot of players in this area who have made undead characters, and some of them decide to go very, very disgusting with their characters, like that guy there with his undead male with the lower jaw missing. Because when you make an undead male, you can have a number of, well, body parts looking different or just straight up missing. That's one of the things about the models, is that you will notice we don't have any skin covering our elbows. We just have, like, our bones exposed, our spine is exposed here on our back, our hip bones are just kind of, like, clipping through our clothes there. Yeah. Now, fortunately, now I just prefer the female Forsaken model. I think it's a better looking model. I think it has better animations. I tried an undead male. Didn't really like it. That, slunched over to one side kind of look they have, almost like a hunchback kind of look there. It's just never really appealed to me. Plus, yeah, look at how many of them are like, hey, we don't have a lower jaw. We have our tongues hanging there. It's really gross and disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of gross. So, but yeah. It's a cool, don't get me wrong, the fact that the options and features are there for players is great. It's fantastic for character creation. I'm very much in favor of it. I just don't prefer to design my characters that way. So, see, it worked for them, it didn't work for me. It would have been so cool to be able to show that, but whatever. Moving on. So, what was I talking about? I think it was... Yeah, so during this time, as I said in some of the previous videos, both the Alliance and the Horde are right now in a state of total war. So there's a lot of battles going on. And the Forsaken have been bringing a lot of corpses from those battlefields here, so that then the Valkyr can raise them. Now, this is very different compared to what it was like back in the days of Vanilla, because it was a different mindset and a different mentality, a different focus, a different goal. Here, it's like just constantly raising people back from the dead and giving them a quote-unquote choice. Yeah, that's not necessarily true, but you'll probably start to see that as we go through the questing in these zones. So let me be clear about something. I have made it very, very clear. I hate Sylvanas. I hate Nathanos. I hate the Apothecary. I think they are a little too like sinister evil. This was shown in by Putris back in Wrath. I quoted that at the beginning of this video when he had his big speech at the Wrath Gate. The terrible vengeance of the Forsaken. Which, by the way, is part of the reason why my Warlock is an Undead. He was an Orc for a while, but I changed him back to an Undead. And it's partly because... Where is it? Here it is. There it is. This is the hour of the full... That's the Putris set. And it's for the Warlock, and you get it from Ulduar. Obviously, I need to take my Warlock back to Ulduar to get this set, because I want this set for my for my Undead Warlock, because that's what Putris wore at the Wrathgate. So, anyways. But they've also always been considered a pretty good race selection for Warlock, as some of the passive stuff, as well as some of the racial stuff. So, if you're curious... So this is a couple of the abilities we actually get as a Forsaken. Will of the Forsaken removes any charm, fear, and sleep effects. This is a really, really good ability. Really, really good ability. And, this is kind of gross, Cannibalize. When activated, regenerates 7% of your total health and mana every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. Only works on humanoid or undead corpses within 5 yards. Any movement, action, or damage taken while cannibalizing will cancel the effect. Yeah, it's gross. That's gross. It's useful, but it's gross. But at the same time, you also get a couple of other abilities that make it where it's not that huge of a deal, such as you get shadow resistance, reduced damage, shadow damage taken by 1%. And Touch of the Grave. Your attacks and damaging spells have a chance to drain the target, dealing 5 shadow damage and healing you for the same amount. Additionally, you can breathe underwater indefinitely. So, Forsaken never have to worry about breathing underwater. Which is funny because they also usually will get an ability to help pass on being able to breathe underwater to teammates, I believe. Let me see, is that an actual... Usually, Warlocks will have that ability and be able to pass that on. Yeah. Unending Breath. Allows an ally to breathe underwater and increases swim speed by 20% for 10 minutes. It's a Warlock ability, but it also makes sense that an Undead Warlock would be able to give that kind of ability as well. So anyways. There's a number of things that go on in the zone that is very much... going on with what's happening here. And a lot of the things that happen is very, very human. So we have been risen, but we're someone who has been considered a very strong mind, who's like, okay, I'm an undead, but I can make this work. I've been given this another chance here, but there are things I can make this worthwhile. I've been given an extra chance here. I should make something of it. And that is the quote-unquote choice that we were given. But when you think about it, in this kind of situation, how many choices do we really have? And, well, some of the NPCs here, you'll notice, are making a few different choices here. You'll see some around here with, some of these Valkyrie that are flying around doing this. That guy right there was like, I should be dead, and to death I will return! And then he commits suicide. Because he hates the idea that he's been brought back from the dead. Someone will be like, what's happening to me? Why have you done this to me? What magic is this that it turns back the hand of death? If the Banshee Queen has offered me this chance, I will gladly serve. So some will be willing to just be like, okay... Sylvanas. Nice. Some will be like, "What are you doing? Leave me alone!" And then they become one of those mindless zombies that you see over there. Because, as is constantly pointed out throughout the setting, oh, here's one here. "I never asked for this. Leave me alone!" And he becomes a mindless zombie. And the reason for that is because how willing you are to join determines your place and your power. This is why some, like Kel'Thuzad, are extremely powerful undead because of how willing they were to join the undead and the Scourge. Whereas people who are entirely resistant and refuse to be a part of it will not get any power at all and will basically just be a mindless ghoul or a mindless zombie. And it also partly has to do with the ways that there are different types of undead. By the way, there's also stuff like this, where someone will come here and without a jaw, and he'll be like, "Ah, blah, blah, blah," and he's like, let's see. I just saw a corpse with a jaw that would fit you. And so he gives it to him, he's like, that should do the job. Come back right away if it falls off again. Thank you, Undertaker. This guy is an Undertaker, and his job is to find body parts from other corpses nearby to help out other undead who are missing certain body parts. So here's one here. He said, "I should be dead. To death I will return." And then he kills himself, refusing to be a part of this. And it's just little flavor things like that that really add to the atmosphere of this zone and what's really going on here with the Forsaken. And this thing of the constant of, rising of these, corpses in this area by order of Sylvanas, and there's a reason for that, but we'll get there. So, anyways. Yeah, see. Like, let's see, I just saw a corpse with a jaw that would fit you. He's like, Alright, that should do. There you go. That should do the job. Come back right away if it falls off again. Thank you, Undertaker. Wake and sleeper, your new life awaits. What? What's happening to me? Why have you done this to me? I should be dead, and to death I will return. And they just keep like, alright, that one didn't work. I'll raise another one, see if that one will join us. This is just constantly going on. By the way, I love the look of the two different kinds of wings. The white angelic wings on this Valkyr, and the dark angelic wings on this one. I just really like the look of that. By the way, spider pet for undead hunters. Ew. That's why I've never made an undead hunter. I'm like, nope, forget that. I ain't doing that. Are you kidding? No way.
What do you require?
We'll be talking more about this as we go along. But let's get started. Well, hello there. You must be, Serana? I am pleased to see that you are up and walking around, Serana. You've held up nicely, especially after being dead for so long. Others weren't as lucky. If you wouldn't mind, I need you to fetch my embalming fluid and some twine to stitch up these bodies. You'll find both in the Shadow Grave, the building just behind me. Here, Darnell will join you. He knows the way.
Victory for Sylvanas.
This is Darnell. He's actually pretty cool. He's Now, alright, so let me point this out. You'll notice that he's a little bigger than the usual type of Forsaken. This has led to a theory that some have had, but it has to do with something that the writers and the developers have actually admitted this, and it's still stupid, and many of us are still unhappy about it. So if you're probably wondering, well, if they can just raise the undead, then why is it they only seem to be raising humans? Why not be raising other races? So, the developers have admitted this for gameplay reasons, and they have they tried to come up with a reason in lore that Sylvanas and these Valkyr were only capable of raising humans as part of their Forsaken, as opposed to multiple other races. And that's because they didn't want to have to come up with other models of Forsaken Tauren, or Forsaken Trolls, or, I don't know, Forsaken Pandaren, you name it. Just like, Because there really should be multiple different race models here as opposed to just humans. But in order to try and justify this, they came up with an in-lore reason that their power is not as strong as the Lich Kings, who could easily do it with any race, but Sylvanas and the Valkyr have been weakened since Wrath, and therefore are only capable of raising humans. It's really stupid, but it's a somewhat reason and explanation. And it's funny, they've admitted this, that they did this so they wouldn't have to deal with making more models, character models. So, anyways. Because seriously, who wouldn't want to make some other models like an undead Tauren or an undead troll? Oh, there's one right here. If the Banshee Queen has offered me this chance, I will gladly serve. See, she rose that one, and then she just immediately raises another one to see if he's willing to join. Yep, and this one's willing to join. It's just a constant thing. So, and you know what's funny? The idea of undead other races, like an undead troll, for example, it's not like that's something new. We saw this in BFA. We saw undead trolls in BFA. I mean, for goodness sakes, if you go to Nazmir and you see what was going on there, even though Bonsamdi hates undead, there was also there's a dungeon boss in BFA in Atal Tazar who is an undead because we killed him in the regular questing, and then he was brought back by Miasma in order to be like her undead servant to face us in the dungeon. So it's not like the idea of them making more models for undead characters for us to play as isn't out of the question. They just don't want to do it. Yeah. So if you've ever wondered why you can't make an undead such and such, that's why. So, anyways. So this is the building I mentioned. This is where you actually start. The Shadowgrave is this way. Follow me. Let's see now. Where could they be? This way. I like to think that Darnell is just very chipper. Now where could those supplies be? He's just very upbeat. He's not very, yes, now where are they? You know. He's just going around like, So, this spot right here. This is where you start your character, your undead character in WoW Classic. You're standing right here. And it's like the intro starts and you're standing right here, and then you just walk out. It's like, alright. And to me, it just felt kind of, oh, okay. You know, again, I'm just harping on that just because I liked that whole concept of, you know, it really did feel like the beginning of our character story as opposed to, oh, we've already been up for a while, it seems. Now, it can make sense in the regards that we were one of the Forsaken who was part of them back in Warcraft 3, and therefore we're just kind of like, I don't know, getting up for the day to start doing stuff, so. Alright, let's grab the twine, let's grab the embalming fluid, there we go. Darnell? Darnell, I found it. Darnell. Whatever. Oh, hold on. I just remembered. I have not, made my heirlooms yet. Yes. Yes. I find it funny, there's like one, it's very easy to do heirloom cloth, because there's like only, like one per category. It's kind of funny. Got so caught up in talking about this. It's like I almost forgot. Alright, let's see. Okay. Like I could take a sword and a tome, a musty tome of the lost. Okay. Yes. Yes. Anyways. Death Knell. Very appropriately named.
I'm listening.
You will find the items within the Shadowgrave. Oh, I did. They're right here. Ah, exactly what I needed. You will be an asset to the Forsaken, Serana. You know word has it that you were quite the warlock in your previous life. Perhaps I should assign you to a more exciting task. So yeah, we can be able... This is one of those, you know, given the situation that's going on here in Cataclysm, this is one of those situations where when you make a Forsaken character, you can actually create your own character's backstory of what and who you were before they brought you here to raise you as part of the Forsaken. So, you know, like this is one of those ways where he can acknowledge that you were quite the warlock in your previous life. So you could probably be like, well, let's see, I guess our character could have been a human warlock who was part of the Alliance, or we could have, you know, which I guess, considering our model's limited to humans, or here's something else could make sense. We were a Gilnean. I'll talk more about this, obviously, when we get to our Worgen in this series, but considering how Gilneas is not too far away from this location, let's say, and Worgens can be warlocks, let's say we were a Gilnean citizen at one point, we died, but we were a warlock who was looking to serve and help Gilneas, and now we've been brought here to join the Forsaken against our Gilnean brethren. Well, I'm not necessarily too fond of the Gilnean people, but to me that would just kind of like, okay, sure, because they're right there, so... The Valkyr raise hundreds of corpses every day. Agatha raised you just a few moments ago. Not all are as lucky as you, however. Some maintain their free will, but live in constant fear and confusion. They usually run off into the woods, cowering at their own reflections. Others lose their minds completely, shambling about aimlessly. They often turn to violence and must be destroyed. This is your task, Serana. Destroy them, our former brothers and sisters though they might be. Kill 6 mindless zombies. By the way, in case you're curious about classes that can work if you play a Forsaken, I actually was going to do this as a rogue, but because of the Putris thing with that set, plus, you know, I was re-looking at the abilities, and to me it was just like, you know, Forsaken just matches really well with Warlock. It really does. But a rogue also works well, especially given a certain character we're going to meet in just, you know, later on in this zone here. But also, if you really want to take advantage of the will of the Forsaken, an Undead Warrior is also an excellent choice, actually. Because Will of the Forsaken, being able to remove a fear, you guys know as well as I do how valuable this ability is in big-time, you know, higher content like dungeons and raids. Being able to remove a fear ability or a sleep is incredibly valuable. A priest is also an excellent choice, and so is a mage, I believe. An undead monk. That's actually just makes me laugh because I worry that her arms are gonna fall off with all the punching she's gonna be doing. It's just a funny thing to me. Things that couldn't be saved. Hey, where are you going? Get back here. Up, he failed. Alright. Oh. This is Caretaker Case.
And you are...
King, peasant, or warlock, I don't care what you were before. I just need somebody with a working tongue. Well, fortunately the female Forsaken can't do the missing jaw thing, so... Being raised from the dead is strenuous. Not everyone copes with it as well as you did. In particular, there are 3 newly raised undead who are having trouble coping right now. I want you to find them and talk to them. It might be that they just need someone that they can relate with. You will find them here in the graveyard. Speak with Marshal Redpath, Lillian Voss, and Valdred Moray.
Watch your back.
So yeah. That kind of gives away what I was referring to. But before we deal with that, let's slay some zombies, shall we? Shadowbolt. So as I showed with our gnome, when you first create a warlock, you start off as Affliction. Once you get to level 10, you can swap to either Demo or Destro if you are. Up. Don't worry, I'm gonna save... Yeah, I know Lillian's there. I'm gonna save her for last because, oh gosh, Lillian. Cannot wait until I get a dot. Nom, 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 nom. Ugh. Just the... It's a... You know, just the idea of that is just so gross.
Hello.
Not even the power of the Valkyria was enough to save these creatures. They were doomed from the beginning. I have obtained some equipment for you, Serana. It's not much, but it will help.
Farewell.
There we go. Corruption. Alright. So one of the reasons I was mentioning how this, like these reactions and such, are very human. Like, how many of you, like, can think that if you were in this situation that you would react in a very similar way to some of the things I've been showing you? And now, one of the very first quests that we get is just talk to these people and try to help them, because think about all the different kinds of reactions that various different people would have to this situation. You died, and now you've been brought back. Unexpectedly. You weren't expecting this. It wasn't a choice you made. Now you're being offered a choice after you've been raised. But think about how many people, like more Valdred here, that he's just sitting here just trying to contemplate this situation and come to grips with it. This is not something you could just, alright, I'm cool with it. You know, you're going to be, like, traumatized by this, shocked by it, and really try to, you know, deal with this somehow.
Speak quickly.
What's going on? Who are you? What happened to me? Don't you remember? You died. I... died? Yes. You're right, I died. It was an orc. He cut off my hands, and he left me to die. These aren't my hands. These aren't my hands! Calm down, Valdred. Undertaker Mordo probably sewed some new ones on for you. I suppose this is my fate, then. Part of an undead army. Somehow I never considered that I might end up fighting for the Forsaken. What do I do now? You talk to Undertaker Mordo. He'll tell you what to do. That is all I know.
Beware the living.
I see. Well then, let's get to work. The Dark Lady needs us. The Dark Lady needs us, right? Yeah. He mentioned how he got killed by an orc. So imagine that happened incredibly long ago, like during the pillages and the raids of the demonic orc horde back in the days of Warcraft 1, when they were attacking the Eastern Kingdoms and sacking Stormwind. Imagine they also at some point made their way up here towards Lordaeron. Or maybe this is not even someone from Lordaeron. Maybe he was down near the Stormwind area during Warcraft 1, and like let's say in Westfall as a farmer, and he got killed by an orc during that period of time. And he had his hands cut off. And now all these years later, he's been brought back. He's undead, and he has entirely different hands. How would you react to that? It's very easy to sympathize with many of the Forsaken. Now this is someone that we've actually met before. Marshall Redpath. This is a character that we've encountered before. And now he's here.
What is it?
Stand back, monster. You want to fight? Because I'll fight you. I'll fight any of you creatures. Do you hear me? I'm not here to fight. I've only been asked to speak with you. Oh, really? Fine. I don't want to join you and your Forsaken. Maybe I'll start my own Forsaken. Maybe I'll invent Forsaken with elbows. Blackjack and hookers. Sorry, bit of an inside joke. You are free to do whatever you like.
Goodbye.
Who are you calling a monster? You're the monster! I'm just a man who died! And then he runs off. And then the character that... Oh gosh. The first time I went through this zone and did this quest line, I just wanted to give this character a hug and tell her that everything was going to be okay. I felt such sympathy for her. Fortunately, for our peace of mind, she came back in Legion and has continued to be a character in BFA, though at first she was not really acting the way I expected of her. But by the end of BFA, she has become a pretty relevant character and has finally started to actually be the character I wanted her to be. But that's stuff later on. Right now, this is when we first meet Lillian Voss. So for those of you who wondered who Lillian Voss is and where she came from, where she started, this is where her character started. This is where we first meet Lillian Voss.
I live my life in the shadows.
Get away from me, you abomination. I'm not an abomination. I'm simply undead. I just want to speak with you. The undead are a taint upon Azeroth. Every one of you creatures deserves to be destroyed. Lillian, do you realize that you are undead yourself?
Do not linger.
No, you're lying. My father will protect me. And she runs off. We'll be seeing her again real soon. Like I said, very human. Very human reactions.
What is it?
You have done well, Warlock. As you can see, not all of us have resigned to our fates. I'm glad to see that you are at least willing to work. Valdred will be a valuable asset to the Forsaken. As for the other two, well, there's not much that we can do. We cannot force them to join us. Darnell tells me that the two of you have already met. That's good, because I'm sending you both into Deathnell. Hello again. Hi, Darnell. Your work is done here. Speak with Death God Saltane in Deathnell to the north. He will tell you more of what you must know.
Trust no one.
I believe there may have been another quest right over here. Or was it just simply over there? Because I saw a quest pop up on my minimap when I was talking to Lillian. Ah, over here. Ah, must be in that building over there. Okay, never mind. It's just kind of part of the natural progression here. So remember, this is basically the tutorial version. So obviously, there's not going to be that many hostile enemies. Many are going to be yellow. Try and help ease us into learning how to play, basically. Oh, good, you're still here. Now, where's Death Guard Saltane? Ah, here he is. Thanks, Darnell. So this is that first hub area where you can be able to, go to certain merchants to try and get some things. Trainers, they're in here. We'll go in there in just a second.
This had better be good.
Those Valkyr have been really busy resurrecting you newbies lately. I've already seen a couple dozen new bodies run down that hill since this morning. You, however, are the most promising warlock that I have seen today. We've been shipping in dead bodies from Silverpine, Hillsbrad, hell, anywhere we can get them from. We can't, however, afford to ignore the bodies which are sitting right on our front doorstep. The last vestiges of the Scarlet Crusade roam here in Tearsfall Glades. While we've managed to push them from Deathnell, several of their bodies litter the buildings to the north and the east. Go find them and bring that Darnell fellow with you. He looks strong enough to carry a few corpses.
Beware the living.
So then you enter here, and this is where you're going to encounter your trainers at first. This obviously, was more relevant in WoW Classic, since you would go to your trainers in order to be able to be like, hey, I want to purchase an ability and such and such. So, there's some things about this zone that have changed, but some have not. It's mostly Silverpine that has changed for Cataclysm compared to what Tearsfall. Tearsfall, for a good chunk of it, is very much the same as it was back in Vanilla. Even though some of it should change, like the Scarlet Crusade stuff, considering how much of the Scarlet Onslaught we took care of in Wrath. But, the Scarlet Monastery is still in this area, so...
I'm listening.
If you're going to be an asset to the Forsaken, you need to learn how to fight. And there's no better target than the Scourge minions that continue to pester us. The wretched ghouls and rattlecage skeletons that roam the north and to the east are former troopers of the fallen Scourge. They should prove to be an even match for a fledgling warlock like you. Do not tarry. When you are done, speak to me again.
Beware the living.
And we shall begin to go through Deathnell when we return. Stay tuned.